Okay, folks, this has probably been one of the longer videos I've ever done on YouTube. As you can see, we have the Concorde. This is the, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Colimata Concorde FXP for XP12, volume 3.12, and we're currently in XP12 0.9. There's an awful lot to this aircraft. It comes with two variants. You can get the 4K or the 2K. I recommend a 2K if you want better frame rates. And there's a detailed long manual. I think it's like 180 pages or so that you can get separately when you purchase this aircraft. I got it for nothing because it was a gift via gift certificate, XP12. So I decided to take a look at it, and I was pretty shocked and surprised. So what I thought I'd do, probably just do the first half of the video going over all the systems, do my flow. I have a certain flow I use to get this thing up and running, and there are some workarounds. There's some issues with trim. The fuel tank trim is more or less instantaneous, so that can kind of push you off a little bit. And then there's the elevon trim that I think is a little bit out of whack. And then there's an issue with the max climb. When you're transitioning to supersonic speed, you're going to find that you're going to have to use the vertical speed quite extensively in order to get a reasonably smooth flight. Okay, this is, I'll just try to look at all views here. We'll start off in the flight engineer station. And we have ground power available, so we'll go ahead and power it up. We've already done the safety check and all that good stuff. And it goes through about a 30-second diagnostics. The computer's back here. This is old school technology. It actually was the precursor to what led to Airbus. In the real world, this was an amazing aircraft. Sustained supersonic flight at Mach 2.0 between 55 and 60,000 feet. An absolute modern marvel. Okay, once that's done, the very next thing I would do, and this is my flow, put my cooling fans. I go ahead and open up the bleeds. Things you're going to need. There's a long detailed checklist that comes with it. I like to get the inertial reference system warmed up and aligned. First thing, takes about, depends on where you are in relation to the equator, latitude. And it'll count backwards in seconds, about 550, 560 or so. I'll get that going first thing. Then what I'll do is I'll do seat adjustments. Give me a better view sitting here. This way I can look down. Radar off, transponder. And go ahead and turn that on. Since we're at Kennedy, gotta have it on, and also make sure that your air data computer is on. And that's pretty much the first thing I do. And I'll check my, okay, and then light should go on, it goes off. Check the throttle. And I always try to remember on the trim. Now here's where the trim issue comes in. I find if you trim it up here, right on that arrow, she'll tend to start to roll up just a little bit early of VR, but it's a little more manageable once you get off the ground. You've got lots of rheostats and lights. It's pretty cool to fly in the dark. I like flying it at night better than I do in the daytime. Lots of switches and buttons. So there's madness to my method. It's pretty cold out. So we're going to turn on the probes down to 3. Now what I recommend, go to the quick start after you've read the manual a couple of times, and that'll help you find everything, because I think the thing that took me the longest to figure this bird out was finding where all the switches are that I needed to operate this thing. Now your throttle master, you have, never leave it off, you have an alternative and a main, sort of like a backup. And you've got engine rating, and we'll be taking off, so we'll leave it in climb and takeoff mode. That's flight, climb. Auto throttles, I go ahead and get those in the bullpen. Servos set to normal. You can test, got red, yellow, hydraulics. Pretty redundant. Engine anti-ice works good. This is testing up here. You'll find a lot of stuff works is functional. This is your main anti-ice, and then you have an alternative that doesn't work. A lot of redundancy. Not sure what that means. This is an important one. Don't ever leave that unguarded. These are your HP valves. This is your, once you open your start valve, you hit 12%. One for each engine. Fire handles, they do work. I don't know if the shots work or not, but the handles can be pulled. And then your flight augmentation. This is all running on these old computers. Sort of a fly-by-wire. And then you got your inverters. Keep those safety. I think these circuits have to be, these are like the main circuits got to be set, and I believe the anti-stall has to be on. So that pretty much completes everything I want to do up there. Then I move from left to right. I guess I go and get the altimeter.
John F. Kennedy International Information. Romeo 2025 Zulu. Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10 miles. Sky conditions broken at 3,200. Overcast at 17,500. View at 33,500. Temperature 3. Dew point -3. Altimeter 3020. Arriving runways 13 left. 04 right. Departing runways 13 right. 04.
I'll probably use 04. It's a little simpler. I'm going to go ahead and set up for that. Now on the pitch index for takeoff, right about here is when you're going to roll out. Right about here is where you're going to hit the tail wheel or skid wheel. But you'll find you want to hold it there, no lower. As you're accelerating at 250, and even at 250, you're going to find yourself, if you want to keep climbing, you're going to have to keep it up there. If you drop it just a little bit below that, you'll want to level off and descend, even at 250 knots. You will have to constantly hold back pressure on your control wheel to maintain it. You can't just let go of it and assume vertical speed or pitch is going to kick in. It won't. The nose will just dive on you. So that's one little complaint I got about it, but it is challenging. I kind of like that. And it is possible to fly at 250 reasonably slow when even if you're heavy. And I do use the burner, but try to keep it down to a minimum. I have done dry takeoffs in it without the afterburner. Seem to work just fine at 102% N2. So it's optional. I kind of like to do it without, so I don't use that much when I transition to supersonic. For this flight, I'll probably use it just briefly. So I go from left to right. Try to get all my bugs set. I can't set the V-bugs yet until I've loaded the aircraft and put a flight plan in. But I'll check everything else while I'm waiting on these things to align. You see the countdown, about 158 seconds to go. Another thing I like to do is make sure that the autopilot information is preset so I don't have to fumble around when I select it. Usually set this to 10.5. And it seems to be, fuel-wise, it was a problem initially, but I think they fixed that issue with it burning way too much fuel. I seem to be coming out heavy now instead of light when I get to my destination. That's a tricky one planning that, but I got something worked out for this one. We're going to go to, we're at New York, Kennedy. We're going to LAX. Everybody flies over the ocean. This was a planned route once upon a time when they were developing this thing. There were a lot of hype about, oh, we're going to fly to LA, we're going to fly from Miami to Seattle, and then politics jumped in and they shot it down. And that was a real game changer for Concorde. I hurt them bad. So there's that. All right, so once that's done, I go back over here. I got my pitch set. I'll usually set this about, oh, maybe 1500. I'll set 2000. I can always change that. And then I got my radio. I'm going to be going the Kennedy 5. Pretty simple. Let's see, departures. Take it off on 4 left. All you want to do, roll the heading to 099. Contact departure. One thing you don't want to forget is to set your auto throttle speed. If you do and you press that, I'll set that a little bit high. Boom, that's the first thing I want to set. The second thing I want to set is my initial heading when I blast out. I want to get on that heading as soon as possible. And you got to watch, also make sure that you pull this button. It's kind of like, you don't push it, you pull it. Otherwise it won't work. You got altitude hold, that'll just wings level in whatever direction you're going. I prefer this one. That's where I'm going. I will set the top of climb on this departure to 5,000 feet. That's published. Mark that and preset the vertical speed. Now vertical speed won't kick in right away. There's a few things you got to do to get it working, but I'll show you how that works as we progress through this thing. A lot of rheostats you can turn up lights with, little click spots. And it's got this nifty, along with the Avid tab, you've also got this X-Plane 1000, G1000. You can do flight plans with it and save them, and it will load. You can load those instead of manually doing it. Which is pretty cool. I like to set just going to transfer switches. This way I can independently dial VORs and stuff on this side, irrespective, and also get my heading, because when you go to INS mode, this is going to go from magnetic to true. Center of gravity right in the middle. The clock is, don't touch the clock until your computers are aligned. Once that's done, then it's safe to reset this out of chronometer. Because I found if you do that prior to the alignment, it will mess this up. Yeah, I don't see green, but nope, they're in. Check position 14, that's good. That's your performance. And you can compare positions. Now the position is already entered for you. You don't have to enter that. So that kind of confuses people. So leg 1, go to waypoint, waypoint. In this case, on this flight, leg 1's going to be Sparta VOR. And we'll fly out, turn right, climb to 5,000, then we'll turn left and intercept the 311. Or fly direct to it, then fly outbound to 311. I'll go ahead and set that. And then from there, we'll fly to coast. Now, once we cross it, we'll immediately switch from radio navigation to FM INS and select INS. First, we'll be in VOR lock. Once we get a clearance to fly direct to it, I'll center the CDI and just go right at it. And then keep track of my distance. All right, 311 is the outbound course. Or in 1230 we won't need. I'm not going to take off on, normally take off on 13. Wheels up, start a shallow left-hand turn, get out over the bay. And with reheat on, I usually cut it in about a minute. But we won't do it. We'll just go ahead and dial on both 1570. And same thing, be 311. And I'll go ahead and parallel that heading over here for reference. It's real important you get all this set up because the minute you hit auto throttle or you hit autopilot, you don't want any surprises. And verify it. All lights are flashing that need to be. Okay, back here, I go over this. I like to put the brake fan on. Make sure that the hydraulics, ground hydraulics are off and in yellow. And one pointing this way, one pointing that way. Some more test switches over here. The brakes will overheat. I've done it. I've seen the light go on. If you look down here on the right, lower, you'll see a warning. Wheel overheat. I've actually gotten that to light up. And then over here, you've got your brake fail, brake emergency, and pressures. This little light here goes on when you press this button. That's called the 3, 2, 1 count. I call it the blast off. And let's see what else. I want to double check a few other things here. Pressurization, I'll make sure those switches are all set. You want to be in flyover. And also you want to make sure that you are in on the engine 98 on number 4, which is down here, number 4. That'd be 3, go to 4. And that's supposed to prevent vibration at and up to 100 knots. Then it will kick in and match up with the other engine. So you might feel a little bit of a pull when you're taking off. Asymmetric. Always leave the idles in low. Always leave the engine recirculation fans off. The bleed's already on. All this should be off over here, top down. Oxygen panels down here. On the lower, make sure that's good. Over here, check this. You got ramp doors. You got brake temperature, clock, and ground hydraulic. All right, I get ahead of myself here. I like to have this stuff already going here. Those need to be in auto, D-air on the top, and auto, and D-air on the bottom. That prevents problems when you pitch at high angles of attack when you take off. I'll leave the feed pumps off. There's 3 per engine. That's a total of 12 total pumps. Sort of redundant. Everything else looks like it's where it's supposed to be. You're going to spend a lot of time looking for this stuff. Like this is important. Make sure that's guarded and covered, and make sure that this is shut. This is a drain pipe. And what else is there? Let's see. Is that an auto? No, that's good. When in doubt, I select auto. Also, the standby inlet valves, make sure those are shut. There's a few little things you'll see on the checklist. SSB is open right now. And the rectifiers are in the norm setting, and then you have the batteries. You can check ground power with this little switch here. You can check your batteries with this one. Like so. So, now what happens is after you load the aircraft, it will automatically shut off ground power. And I think it does it for a good reason, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Hopefully I won't forget. A couple things it doesn't show. It's supposed to show like load limiter. This doesn't simulate that. You have to go to the load sheet. Before I do that, I have to enter a flight plan. It's pretty simple, but I'm going to go through all 9 of them just to show you how this thing works. And it's a little bit cumbersome, and you have to be very patient with it. You can't rush through it. Okay, first thing I want to do is put in my first point where this is all going to start. The Sparta VOR. So you hit north. Make sure you're on the right page. 1. North, and it's going to be 41043, and then don't insert it, not yet, and go to west 07432, and then you can insert it and make, look at it real good, because you'd be surprised at how easy this thing can skip a number on you. Go to the next page, and that's going to be north 41081, then west. You got to hit west every time. 07441 and 4, and then insert that. Okay, that's going to get us out the coat, and then from there we're going to swing via a great circle across the lower 48 to a place called O'Toole. That'd be number 3. That is the beginning of the Angel 4 arrival at LAX. So let's see, that's going to be north 3453. Can't enter the numbers too quick. Make sure they go in. West 116 241, and insert that. And then I want to go as far as Angel. I'll skip the other 2. Straight line. North 3412, then west 11656. All right, then we'll go to another spot called Circus. That's at north 3404, and west 117295. Insert that one. And then we go to number 6. This is pretty much at line me up with runway 25 right. That's the runway I want. I don't really have to go this far. I can always vector on the localizer, but I decided to do it this way to keep it simple. Okay, north 34003, and then west 117406. Insert that one. 7 is probably about as far as I really need to go with this. That should get me there. I don't need the other two, so I'll just go that far. That definitely gets me lined up. North, 3, 3, 5, 7, 5, and then west, 1, 1, 8, 0, 9, 2. Actually, no, I probably should put the other two because I believe when you enter these waypoints in there, it can figure out your distance, and that's how you can estimate your fuel. I like to be range plus 500. All right, so I'll do it then. So this is number, I already insert that, 7, 8. That'd be north, 3, 3, 5, 7, 2, west, 1, 1, 8, 1, 6, 3, and then I got one more. That's be north, 3, 3, 4, 6, 6, and then west, 1, 1, 8, 3, 6, 5. And then I'll go backwards to it, 33, 46. I just kind of look at it because it's real easy to make a mistake when you're using this thing. So remember, you don't have to enter your initial position. It starts at position 1. That's where you're going from where you're at. So it says 1 to 2. You don't want to go to INS mode till you cross point 1 first, and then you go to INS. Otherwise, you'll fly direct to your second point that you've programmed in there. In this case, they take me right direct to code, which I could skip if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna. At least not willingly. All right, 34, 466, 118, 36.5. Then go count backwards. Next one's 33.57.2, 18, 163, 33.57, 108.92. Yep. And then 3's at 004, 117, 406. Check. And just check them backwards. 34.042, 117, 295 is check. And 34.124, 16.58.6 is check. 34.53.3 and 16.24.1 is check. 41.08.1, 74.414, 74.441 for yep. Check. And then 41.043, 74.32.2. Check. And I like to have this on distance and time. This one over here on the winds. And this one over here on the position. And that's now that that's done, then you can proceed on and go ahead and load up the aircraft. Now what I did is you have a menu up here. You've also got a little quick, if you can see it down here on the lower left hand side, you can do it that way. You got views, you got your checklist. And what I did is I pre-program buttons on my keypad. For example, end, that's the burners. Go ahead and arm those. The light's on, it means they're off. It's kind of opposite. When the light goes off, they're armed. And I use button number, let's see, 9. And then I go to aircraft, ground power. Make sure all that stuff is going. Go back and go to flight preparation. I've already got a route. So when I look at this thing here, I see the range is going to be 2133. Probably add some seats there. I think it seats 112. So I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 99 passengers on this one here. I'll add a little bit of freight. So looking at about 3,500 pounds of luggage and freight, maybe 119 passengers. Total passenger and crew is 20,000 pounds or 9,000 kilograms. That's reasonable. Not heavy, but not that light. Then you apply it. Make sure you do that. Watch what happens. See the airplane bounce around a little bit. You want to make sure you got that load in there. Then you go to your fuel manager. I could select headwinds, but I pretty much know what I want. I just go to the Supersonic one and dial that down until I get to about a range of plus 500 or 600 miles. 21, 26, 27. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's a little bit too heavy. I find that I just barely make weight when I get there. I'll try that this time. Maybe I'll have better luck. It's pretty complicated the way this thing works. Still working at that. I hate it when I get there and I'm too heavy and I gotta hold. Didn't used to have that problem with this. I think back, maybe a month or so ago, they were having trouble with fuel. And I know I did too when I initially first got this thing, and then I upgraded. Actually, what I did is I reinstalled it when I updated to XP12 .09 or 0.9. That may have resolved that problem, because we were burning just about every drop of gas you had. That's from England to New York. I topped off the tanks, and I was still below 10 when I was heading in towards runway 31 left. All right, so that's done. It's loaded. Double check. Make sure your gauge reads what you planned, 79. And also, what you have to do is go back in. And this is a good. Some people complain about it, but I don't. It disconnects your ground power. Go ahead and reconnect the ground power and the air. You don't need the air cart. What you want to do is make sure all your doors are closed. Because if you don't close all your doors, I think all that stuff is gone. So the only thing that should be on is these two yellow lights right here. If you don't do that, and you realize you've got a door open, which will be a little caution and warning down here, a red light will go on. You can't close them unless you go back to the gate. I haven't tried that yet, but I did it once. I left the cargo door open and I could not get it to close. So be damn sure that your doors are all closed before you do anything else. All right, so now that we're loaded, we can go ahead and put the seatbelt sign, no smoking, seatbelt sign on. We got this on. We can put the anti-collision light on to get ready to start. And let's see if the gate's still hooked up. And we got a clearance to start. Now make sure you got air pressure. Make sure that the bleed is open. Make sure that the cross bleed is on. And right now air conditioning is being controlled on the ground. You can dial these around a little bit too. So we're clear to start. I always start the inboards first. I always start with number 3. Oops, can't do it yet. One more little item. Pumps can now go on. Without these pumps on, it won't start. All right, and I got those switches selected. Yep. There's a lot to it. When it gets above N2, above 12, I believe, you go ahead and start. You get the flashing light. Make sure the throttles are closed. And then check for hung start. That's good. And then what you want to do is turn on the condition valves. This is for air conditioning and pressurization. You go and shut that cross bleed off, and then go to hydraulic for engine number 3 and the generator. Reset. There she is. And once you do that, you go ahead and drop the nose down to 0. Not the nose, but the visor. And you can call for better pushback.
Hey, Captain, let me know where you want this thing. Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming.
And then go ahead and start the other engine. That'd be number 2. Watch it rise. Lights flashing. HP open. It's pretty loud. The Concorde. Condition valve. Cross speed off.
All right, looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect.
Engine 2 hydraulics on. Engine 2 generator on. Now once that's done, you're supposed to be able to disconnect. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it does not work. I don't know why, but it's hit or miss. Doesn't matter. It will disconnect automatically because you don't really need it. You can try this. You're really not supposed to turn those on yet. It's a bit of a load, but I'll just take a whack at it. No go. Shut those off. Gotta wait till all 4 engines are running.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Toes connected, bypass pins inserted. Go ahead and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
So there's that.
Here comes the pushback.
Now I like to wait till we're pushed out a ways before I start the other engines. Save a little gas. Better pushback seems to be working okay, at least from my view in here. Some people, it has its own pushback. The wipers work also. There was a complaint that they said it didn't have windshield wipers, but it does. They don't work so great, but I've used them. Yeah, there's been a lot of grumbles about the bug. I think mostly the complaint is with the trim. Now I wait until I'm really close to, maybe within 30 seconds or a minute from takeoff before I trim to takeoff trim. And then I hold back a little bit before I go to flight trim. I'm not going to run this afterburner very long. I'm just going to get it off the ground and maybe get the wheels up. Immediately select autopilot, and then I'm going to back off a little bit. Cut the burners, and then I'll shut them off. I really don't like using them unless I absolutely have to. You have a tendency to blow through your speed restriction, and difficult to level it off without really going to 300 knots right away. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start get this engine going. Plus 12. Light it up.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake. And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
And because it's a delta wing, you have to fly slow with a real high angle of attack. That's why they have the drooping nose. All right, which one was on here? This one? Sometimes you can't tell if it's on or off. Be careful on number 4. There's 2 pumps instead of 1. I've actually forgot to turn on one of them once. Didn't do anything, but...
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the left. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Hardest thing about this when you first get it is finding everything. Spent a lot of time just going through procedures. And locating all these switches. So it is a somewhat tedious process. And now I can go ahead and close this and put the heater on and the galley. Requires a lot of, and also these you have to check. I don't know if you have to set those. I leave them out. Not sure. Couldn't get any clarification on that. All right, double check the pumps, the quantities. Trim the tail, and we'll trim that shortly. Once the pushback is done, we can drop the nose to 5 for takeoff. We can put our taxi lights on. Turn off. So I'm not going to use the landing lights. Also, I always forget this. Should have done it earlier. Leave that on low, and I like to hear the fan, a little bit of ventilation. Another check. Alright, also you can also check your reversers while the brakes are still on. I don't know why they require that, but that's part of a procedure.
Reverser deployed. Reverser retracted.
Strange. Alright, done that. Those are pretty loud. It won't roll even when you release the brake because it's pretty heavy. And you do your control wheel check. Control surfaces, elevons, rudder. It's a split rudder, upper and lower. And then double check the clock. All right, that's set, reset. Now this clock here on the bottom, it's a timer, and that times your total afterburn from takeoff to landing. So what I use on takeoff is maybe one less minute I'll have available when I'm transitioning to supersonic. So it's a cumulative. All right, then I bring the throttles up midpoint. Make sure there are no warning lights. Now the bells and whistles. Anytime it comes to a stop or it starts to move, you're going to hear that little bells and whistles. I was going to hear another bell when the trim's moving around. Avalon trim, that's down here. I find that setting helps make the transition to takeoff a little bit easier. You don't have to pull back so hard. I taxi pretty slow initially. It varies depending on your weight. More than half the weight of this is in fuel. And you have to lead the turn because the wheel is way behind you. I find this to be just about as hard as it is to fly it, maybe harder. Get this right. Left turns aren't as hard. Right turns a little more difficult. The most difficult part initially is keeping that pitch above 10, sometimes as high as 20 initially with the burners on. Without the burners, I don't know if I have to do that, so I'm going to try to get off those as soon as possible. Double check the autopilot 254, it gives me a little margin there. Altitude requires not important. V-speed will be. Heading track definitely, because I got to get on that turn right away. As soon as I get it up, wheels up, I got to make that right-hand turn. You gotta be careful. It will speed up. Like right now I'm going 18 knots. And we're going to 0-4. Hopefully that hasn't changed.
John F. Kennedy International information, Sierra, 2055 Zulu. Wind, light, and variable. Visibility, more than 10 miles. Sky conditions, broken at 3,300. Overcast at 17,000. Temperature 2. Dew point -4. Altimeter 3020. Arriving runways 13 left. 04 right. Departing runways 13 right. 04 left.
All right, nothing's changed. Looks light and variable. This would be the quicker way. Even though I got to turn to the east, I have to turn to the east anyway. If I took off on 3-1, I'd have to make a hard left, go over the bay, and then eventually wind up on a heading to 176, tracking out. And that's heading south. So then I got to do another turn to the east, and then another turn to the north. So this way, I'll already be heading east. Then I'll turn to the north, and then to the northwest, and try to hopefully get a direct to Sparta and a higher altitude. But I'll fly this old man style initially, just like a regular jet, but not for very long, because this thing is really fuel greedy. Up to 20 knots ground speed already. Generally I like to stay around N2 71, 70 when I'm coasting downhill. Still picking up speed, I'll have to go to idle. I'm gonna cut across here. Most likely when you're doing right turns, it's probably because you got a nose wheel tiller on both sides. So I would assume in the real world they take turns. The guy on the right turns right, the guy on the left turns left. So it takes a bit of practice to taxi it. Try to guesstimate where that rear wheel is. It's directly behind me. X-plane, it's a little dark in the cockpit, unless you're looking down like that. And I've turned the rendering options down on this down to medium. Because it's a frame rate gobbler. Right now I'm doing pretty good at 38, 39, but when the weather's bad, I'm not using auto orthos anymore. I've kind of had enough of that. I don't like those stutters. And I'm not using active sky. I'm using X-plane default weather. So you get a lot more rain with X-plane default weather than you do in active sky. And that can also affect your frame rate significantly. That one a little bit too wide. have to use the throttles in the turn. Yeah, right about now is probably a good time not to forget this.
Fuel trim to takeoff.
Yeah, it looks like it instantaneously went from 52.5 to 53. I always thought it was 53 and a half. Maybe that's why it's a problem. I don't think that's enough. If I was to guess, I'd say as far as the bugs go, I think they've got the auto fill trim. I would assume it was 50. If I remember correctly, it was supposed to be 53 and a half, 55 for flight. And as you got faster and faster, the CG range would widen and it would start shifting backwards. And gradually pump the fuel as you went. So I don't entirely agree with that. But I could be wrong. It does have radar and it does work. I'm not using it right now. Oh, there we go. We got some rain. I guess I will use it. Nothing showing up. I'm not going to turn, well, really don't need these. I'll just leave these lights on. It's light enough for daytime operation. I'm going to go ahead and line up. See how you got to kind of extend way out over those wheels way behind you. I got to power up a little bit and get around this turn here. I guess I'll run the windshield wipers. Not too far off. And we'll come to a near stop. Real easy on the brakes. Alright, the hardest thing for me is not forgetting to turn the clock on. Turn the clock on. Fuel trim is done. Do the countdown.
3, 2, 1, now.
Firewall it. Lit. Check the speed bugs. Set.
Airspeed building.
A little bit of a yaw to the right.
100 knots. Power set.
Right about now.
Positive climb. Gear coming up.
Back the power off just a little bit.
Gear up. Doors locked. 250 knots.
Auto throttle. Hold that 15. She'll want to drop, especially in the turn. Keep it right about just under it. I'm only 1,500 feet a minute right now, or 250 knots. So at this point, you got to hold back pressure until it straightens out. Then I'm going to try to mess with this trim a little bit. Got to hold. Now what happens is I'm going to pull up. And it's going to want to dip.
Check trim setting.
And it's going to complain.
Check trim setting.
Oops, turn that burner off. I think it's all the way back. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go to flight.
Fuel trim to flight.
And eventually, it'll settle out.
3,000 feet.
Okay, I want to shell out to climb a little more. About 1,000 feet a minute. Just hold that. All right, bring this up 1 notch. This makes it a little bit more aerodynamic. Now we're at 2,000 feet a minute, and I can now release the controls. So it's a gradual transition. I'll turn north. And then if I want to slow down my rate of descent down to 1,000 feet a minute, actually down to 500. This thing doesn't hold altitude very well. I'll give you an example right now. It's going to go right through it. It's supposed to automatically. All right, it's going to acquire. It goes down to 1,000 feet a minute. But you're not going to do it. And it should hold. You'll hear a little click. Boom. So it'll shoot through it by 100, it should go up and down, but minor detail. Now it's parallel, 311. And she'll eventually settle out. Now she's going downhill like 500,000. This is ridiculous. And the wipers off. The auto throttle seems to work pretty good. There were some problems with that initially. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed direct. We got about 44 to go, and let's go ahead and get a clearance to 28,000 feet. Press vertical speed. Start going uphill. And we'll go initially about 2,000 feet a minute. And we don't need these lights.
Check trim setting.
Probably should
Check
have had
trim
that on,
setting.
We're out of takeoff mode, we're in flying mode, and we're still in flying mode. And back here, I'll just go ahead and put this back to normal. All right, and then put that back to normal. And maintain 250 knots. So it's difficult, but not impossible to fly eventually. When it's light, it's a lot easier. Now you see the lights on over here. That means I've de-energized the burner. So it won't kick in when I firewall it. And I used it, how long? 1 minute and 3 seconds. That's okay. So things happen fast. You've got to think fast, well, relatively fast. So it's a good idea to set everything up. It's a single pilot deal here. This is a bit much. Colimata Concorde FXP XP12, volume 3.12. New York to LA. Dream route. Above 10,000 feet, we can only close the visor and speed up. I'm going to bump her up to 300 initially. I fly it very conservatively.
Feet.
Alright, shell out the climb. We're going to accelerate. one. Slowly but surely the fuel consumption will go down. The higher we go. Until speed up to 350. All right, back up to 2,000 feet a minute. And the next thing I want to do is set my pitch index down to just right on top of 10. I'll need that for landing. That's critical. Any higher, you're going to potentially hit the tail skid wheel. Any lower, you're going to be coming wet. Usually coming in faster than you need to. All right, 23 to go. This is the part where you got to be kind of keep track of it. I lose track of this sometimes. I fly past it. It's no big deal. I'll go over here. Get back on that curved path. We'll be well above 50,000 feet. There's nobody flying up there but us. No ice lights. Always watch out. Sometimes you'll get a chirp up here. You gotta watch those temperatures, let those on. It's pretty loud outside. We'll get into that once we get to Supersonic. Hopefully be able to show you those ramp doors, which are over here. These are very important. These ramps, you get up past Mach 1.3, are designed to close slowly to prevent air from exceeding the speed of sound going into those big, powerful Olympus engines. I recall the Russian Concorde had a problem with that. They weren't able to do it efficiently, and they were constantly having to run their afterburners all the time. Despite the fact that they did steal all the plans from Concorde, which is a French, British, or Anglo, how they put it, Anglo-English, whatever. Initially, Concorde approached the United, well, actually, British Aerospace approached the United States. They wanted to go in with them. Believe it or not, French was the second choice. I didn't know that. So I watched a documentary on it. Boeing was too greedy. They were too greedy in that they wanted to go faster, and I was okay with the larger aircraft, but I think they should have stayed at Mach 2. I think that was a stretch. Stay under Mach, at or below Mach 2, you can go conventional materials. All right, transition. I am still using XP Realistic, trying to be realistic. Okay, when I get close to my first point, I'll go to track heading. That right on it, and then keep an eye on it because I'm going to switch over in about 2 seconds. As that needle starts to fluctuate, or sometimes leaving a VOR to flash. You're right on top of it.
20,000 feet.
Closer and closer. Alright, there it is. That's close enough. INS. Now we go direct to coast. Let's see how close we came. Now it's pretty much on and up. And then the next one will be, I believe, a left turn.
knots.
And we're 12 minutes into flight. I want to set this up to 28,000 feet. Let it stabilize. Is that on? Now you got to remember that your heading is now a true heading, not a magnetic. I haven't been able to figure out how to switch that around. So I get a magnetic heading so I can line up my bug. When I line it up on that and I switch back over to rad, the track is going to be off. So there's that. I'll be getting into V-speed a lot here when we start to transition from subsonic to supersonic. I'll initially use maximum climb and then get ready to intervene because it wants to really pitch up quite a bit, max out about 6,000 plus feet a minute. And you'll get overspeed warnings and all kinds of complaints, but ignore that. There is madness to my method. The goal will be to keep that needle right on the edge of overspeed. And the only way I can do that without pitching up and down radically is to control the V-speed power constant all the way up to 50,000 feet. Usually it takes me about 8 to 9 minutes total burn time to get to Mach 1.7. It's a juggling act. Still struggle with it. If I slow this down, that does. Heard a little click. It has a tendency to want to pitch up to 1,000 feet a minute. Then it'll come back down again. It's a little bit late. They need to. This thing needs a little work. Either that, this is an old plane, autopilot. This is an old school autopilot. Maybe that's all it was. It's not perfect. That's a little better. Click. Yeah, it's real slow to respond. Now to go down. And to go up and down. Okay, we got 1,900 to go. And I'll let this thing sort itself out. And I'll go ahead and dial up to 60. You'll find that as the upper air temperature is colder, she'll go higher. She'll perform a little better. As you approach the equator, we've got what's called the atmospheric bulge. The temperatures at 50,000 and above. We're actually colder than they are in the northern latitudes. Alright, she's stabilizing. Now what I want to do is get this thing up to 380. 384, 380. Let's try 380 and see if we can wind up. She's going to want to pitch up. And I haven't been able to figure out how to stop her from doing that. Now, here we go. The engine thrust will cause the nose to pitch up. Slow back down. 0.95 is where I'd like to be. Alright, here comes the fun part. Let's let her stabilize out here for a minute. $18 minutes in. I like to try to start this between 20 and 25 minutes after the takeoff. Sometimes you have to go as long as 30. But the less time, the better. The only downside is I'll probably be too heavy when I get to LA. Alright, that's close enough. We're at 0.94. See where it winds up. Okay, I'll turn the auto throttle off. Go to max climb. Full power. And then one burner at a time, give it a kick. Give it another one.
Mach 1 passed. Mach over speed warning. Throttle back on climb.
I expected that. It'll sort itself out. It's just right on the line.
30,000 feet.
Now I gotta get ready. So max out. Then she'll fall behind. You're going to keep one eye on the max speed. Have the trigger finger on vertical speed and watch that. See it starting to come down. And she'll come down too much. Okay, now she's getting a little bit low. Vertical speed. Okay. Down to 1,000 feet a minute. Try to keep that right on the edge. Don't let it get behind. Get the number coming up. All right, bring it up a little bit. Eye on the needle. This way it's not so violent. Watching that number go up, 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 up. Goes down or stops, make an adjustment. Get behind. Come down. Sometimes you almost got to level off. I'm seeing too much daylight right there. first goal is to hit 1.3 as soon as possible. So I pretty much fly right on the edge. Right on the edge. Almost 1.3. Just barely, you can just see it right on the edge there, right on the edge.
Mach 1.3. Ramps moving confirmed.
Okay. Try to get that up to 1.7 as soon as we possibly can, but it's not easy. All right, 6 minutes total burn time. I need this to get up about right here. Give it a little bit of margin. The air's getting real thin now, and I'll start picking up.
Fuel status 60 tons.
Getting faster. Almost over speed. Minutes total time. Would have been 7.
Overspeed warning. Throttle back on climb. Mach overspeed warning. Throttle back on climb.
suggest repeat off.
9 minutes, 25 seconds. All right. And we'll just hold it here at full 102, 101. And as long as those numbers keep increasing, I'll just stay right on the edge of that needle. Follow it up. So technically, if I took off dry without burners, I'd have used 8 minutes and 25. I'm a little bit heavier, so I expected to use a little more. When you hit 12 minutes, you get a 3-minute warning. The maximum total burn takeoff to landing per flight is 15 minutes. We're hanging on right on the edge of it at 1.8. And things have changed once you get above 50,000. Fuel flow is going down. I'll be able to reduce power pretty soon. Right now I want to keep it up there. Temperature's down, so we're all right. It's a juggling act. We're too low to go Mach 2 right now. We got to get up a little higher. So by adjusting the V-speed up and down, you get pitch changes, but I don't think you'd feel it, but not as much as you would if you're in max climb mode. It just goes crazy. The main thing is you just got to try to stay ahead of it as best you can. 50,000 will probably be right at where you can go Mach 2. Another 1,000 to go. Also, I always forget to shut this light off. That's the takeoff monitor. All right, max speed just under Mach 2. We're right on the edge, 1.92. Ground speed's going up all the time, and the higher we go, the lower the fuel flow. Just the sound of the wind. It's starting to get hot.
Passing Mach 2. Overspeed warning. Throttle back or climb. 50,000 feet.
Bring it back to about 100. Very slowly bring the throttle back. Real slow. Or you get a surge. A little more. More climb. Gonna start getting hot. We're at plus 28, so we're not there yet. It's probably be good up to 55,000, 54, give or take, 2.01. At which point I'll be able to transition to max cruise. That seems to work pretty well once we get everything stabilized the way I want it. 2.0, we'll start reducing climb rate slightly, 1,500. Still got to get a little bit higher. just have to be patient. All right, 98, 97. Go down to about 1,000 feet a minute. Eventually, I'll wind up at 500 feet a minute. And then I'll transition to max cruise. And adjust the power as needed. 1.97. And it's going to start going up a little bit. 1.98. And 500 feet a minute. $98, $97 into N1. Level off just a little bit. $20,400 tons an hour. There we go. I think it's safe to say I can go ahead and transition to maximum cruise. So probably want to pitch up a little bit at that power setting. So I'll start backing it off here in a minute. All right, bring it down to 98. $97. About 150 a minute. All right. I'm going to skip ahead because there's not much to do here except concentrate on what I'm doing. So I get to about 200 from, where am I going? O'Toole. And then I'll start prepping the descent. And hopefully you get to see what you get. So I'm going to stop here. Well, first let's take a look outside. Here it comes. Hold your ears. I'm going to stop recording here and I'll pick it up on the downside. See you in a bit. Okay, it's about that time. Start planning our descent. We've been about an hour and 50 minutes in flight, averaging 1,300 miles per hour. And we're holding at 2.02. Temperature's plus 126, not bad, just below the line. And so what I want to do is target 28,000 feet. We managed to creep up to just under 58,000 at max cruise. So that seemed to work out pretty good. So I'll set this, remind me, 28,000. I'll drop subsonic before I hit that. And it put me about 40, 50 miles outside my entry point. Right about in this area here. And wait till it gets down to 200 or more tool, and I'll start slowing down. Now, one thing I discovered is descent trim, that is fill trim, I don't really care for it. Oh, I left that on. Oh, that was a bad thing to do. So that being said, I leave it in flight mode all the way down till I get on the approach, and then when I get down to the right speed, get near the glide slope, somewhere thereabouts, I'll convert to fill trim for landing. So we're holding at 57.8, 2.02, 126 degrees on the nose, Celsius. And as I pull the power back, it'll start to descend on its own without doing any trimming at all. Got quite a bit of gas left. Might be heavy. So I'll stay up here just a little longer. A little bit of a headwind, going at 302 and 21, not much. Very little headwind component. But it did get colder. We're a little further south latitude, but it's minus 62. A lot colder. And the fuel burn's been averaging about 45 per engine. A little better than I expected. Averaged out about 18,000 tons. Now when I hit 200, I'll slowly start backing the power off. And we'll begin initially a slow descent, and I'm going to slow it down to about 380 knots, and then go to indicated airspeed. Generally N2 around 90, 88. I can increase and decrease power very gradually to alter that rate. This usually works out pretty good. An hour and 55 minutes since we took off. So usually takeoff to landings 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes. Okay, now here's the tricky part. Flying this fast, you got to bring the power back very, very slowly. The first triangle, Right there. Don't go below that. I'm going to start bringing her back nice and easy. See it starting to go down. Starting to pitch down a little bit. Stay just above it. And when that hits 280, I'll select indicated airspeed. Leave the fuel trim where it's at. And down we go. Slowly bleeding off speed. And those ramps will start opening up as we get lower and lower. Start this rate of descent is going to increase pretty rapidly once I hit the magic spot. Never so increasing as you pull power back. Hold it right there. Go any lower. Boom. Now watch it increase pretty rapidly. Negative G. Not much, but you'll feel it like an elevator ride. She'll max out, then she'll start to come back up again. Almost 6,000 feet a minute. And she starts to pull positive G. And hold 380. So there's all kinds of tips and tricks on how to fly this thing. This is my way. A lot of trial and error. You got to burn a considerable amount of fuel. At least 7 to get down to landing weight. Got to be down to 111,000 pounds. 111,000 kilos. Or tons. Now I'm going to slow down even more in a minute here. I get down below 40,000. But down to 1.32, those doors should be almost completely open. And they are. Almost 4,000 feet a minute, steady. Now I'm going to slow that descent rate down. Bring her down to about 350 knots. I'm going to go ahead and select the auto throttle, bring it down to 350. Very carefully. Oh, I don't want that. About 350. There we go. That'll work. All right, now we're subsonic. Still pretty hot. We can't turn the probe heaters on. Jetliner speed 0.85. And let's see how much fuel I gotta burn. Ooh, quite a bit. Gonna have to milk this one. So we'll put along here for a little bit at 0.86. slowly descend to 28,000 feet. Two hours and 6 minutes since takeoff, and we're on the approach. We're about to hit the initial approach of the arrival page anyway. And slip into traffic just like everybody else. $171 from Los Angeles. And this is an automatic flight engineer. It's just keeping the fuel in keeping it in balance right there, right in the middle. Doing a real good job. And there we are. As expected, we have arrived. Pretty good time, 2 hours, 8 minutes, not bad. Well, it's too bad I couldn't get auto orthos to work out, but I just couldn't stand those periodic frame rate drops. It's just a little too much. turn 1. So weave around a little bit. We're almost there. Across this point at 24,280 knots. I'll have to level off at 24. All right, hold 24 for a little bit, then we'll drop her down to 20, then down to 12, and then down to 10.
Los Angeles International Information Romeo 2340 Zulu. Wind 220 degrees at 6 knots. Visibility more than 10 miles. Sky conditions new at 9,100. Scattered at 17,500. Scattered at 23,000. Temperature 21. Dew point 7. Altimeter 29498. Arriving runway 24 right. 25 left. Departing runway 24 left. 25 right. Advise on initial contact. You have information Romeo.
Okay. Sneak on down. I'll target 20,000 if I can get it. Getting fast. Right on the line. Guess I did that part right. Fuel's pretty close. Need to burn some more. And we might be alright by the time we get to final. Well, it's a good thing I didn't load any more. Couple more turns, we'll be lined up. Got in there by a nose. All right. Next page. And the other turn should put us really close on the localizer. Now the trick to the ILS, if you want to use it, I'm going to try it. Not only you got to be within the dot, but you got to be inside this little cone here. And I believe you have to be, well, I don't know if you have to be configured for, yeah, you do. Well, irregardless. Anyway, I got to get really close to it. That's a little bit tricky. And I've got so much fuel left over, I don't think I'm going to be able to make landing weight. Yeah, probably be a tad heavy. Okay. Put that ready to descend down. Drop that speed a little bit. And let's see how we line up. Lock into it. And I can't see anything in front of me, so I'm going to drop this down a notch. I really don't have a choice. I got to config for landing, so it's going to bounce up. I got to get this V-speed set.
Fuel trim to landing. Wrong fuel trim. Should I change it?
Let's slow it down to 200. That might help. There we go. Okay, fuel bugs. That's configured. About 170, 175. Drop that nose down another notch. Be just under the glide slope. Just kind of trail under it all the way down. Okay, we're up to 10. We got to configure. Boy, it's dark in this cockpit. Try to stay under it. Now when I get within 10, I'm dropping the wheels. I'm not waiting until I'm 7 or 5. Eventually I'm going to slow it to 290. Or 190. There we go, 198. That pitch up just a little bit. Now, there are no warnings for not putting the wheels down, so this is something that I see a lot of people forget, including myself. You won't throttle back any more than that. It's like a balancing act. Oh, the suspense. Gotta wait till I'm in the cone. All right, let's give it a shot. Looks like I got it. All right, wheels down.
Gear coming down.
I'm holding at 190, so I'm going to reset this to 175. If I can read that.
Gear down. 4 greens.
174. Pitch has got to be right about on that dot there. Well, we'll see. as I get down to about 800 feet, I'm going to reselect the speed and let it slow down to VREF. And light it up. Gotta be ready to back the throttles off too. Okay, hits 800. Let's try to slow her down. What happened to the rain? And she'll pitch right there, right on that mark, and pretty close.
500 feet. 400 feet. 300. 200 feet.
Auto throttle off. Autopilot off.
Now I bring the power all the way back.
100 feet. 30. 40. 20. Contact.
Gotta keep it on the ground.
Reverser deployed. Reverser retracted.
Smoke them brakes, smoke them. Can't wait to see how hot I got them. Yeah, landings are the toughest thing in this beast. Hard to get that nose down once you hit the ground. But we made it. And exactly, let me stop the clock. 2 hours, 37 minutes. Not bad, not great, but I'll settle for it. Let's see how hot we got. Well, we're not too bad. All right, let's park this beast. Now see, taxi's a lot faster now when you're on the ground. Well, let's see, probably next one down. It's a little bit long on that one. I was in idle reverse. I didn't really apply any power to it. I probably should have done that. I might have made that first stop. But still in all, I won't run a replay because the system will probably crash. The one at the beginning of the video was a little bit fast on that one. This one here was a little slower. It was a thumper. this it? No, I think it's the next one. Oh, maybe not. That doesn't matter. I'll pick any gate. I'll park it right here. I didn't even turn the probe heaters on because it's plus 21. No reason to. It's just now cooling down. Pushing uphill a little bit. Guesstimate. Put on the brake and get the ground cart. Now I do it the lazy man way. I just kill it all at once. No, I don't have a conveyor in the back. Thought I did. That's still on? No. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right. Now, really, this stuff can be done going on simultaneously, but when you're by yourself, you don't feel like doing all this stuff while you're sitting there. Let's see what else is there. I'll turn these off. That's test. Off, 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 off. And open that. Turn that off, turn that off, turn that off. And you can turn off the bleeds. Let's see, that's a booster. I gotta off, 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 off. All right, off. No, leave that one go. I think that's right. Probably not, but who knows? Brakes are already cooled off. I think I got them all. I think. Let's look outside. Now in the back, you pretty much put a lot of bulk freight back here. Most of the luggage goes underneath. There's two cargo doors underneath this thing. There's one in the front and one behind. Let's see if I can find them. Thought I had a conveyor for that. Don't see it. So you get this conveyor here, and you get the one back here. What's a service van do? I have no idea. Don't need any fuel trucks. We're done for the day. Yeah, we'll work on the engine. Let's try this. Hold on. Over this way. And you can open the door. What's the other thing it says you can do? You can, let's see. Replace engine. Oh, I've got to see that. Work on this one and replace this one. Replace engine. You got refrigeration, you got stairs, you've got service van, you got catering, you got fuel trucks. And all kinds of neat stuff. Alright, so let's see what happens when we hit this one here. Let me try to get out where I can see it. Alright, there's the engine, but we're not going to replace that, are we? Look at that beast. A monster. It's like a fighter jet. It's got these adjustable nozzles back here. It's all digitally computer controlled. FedEx. One of the first ever. That is really cool. Alright, replace engine. You can open the door. On that side. Working conveyors, fuel truck. Engine replace on that side, engine door on the other side. Olympus 593, Rolls Royce. Thing is an animal. An animal, I tell you. So it was a reasonably good time. But if you're going to fly like conventionally by the rules, you're going to fly a SID and a star, especially over land, which they really were seriously back in 1969, 1970s. They were going to do it. We were looking forward to it back then. And then the sonic boom issue came in. And too many complaints. So, anyway. Hard to show everything. It's just too many items. I guess I'll go ahead and shut everything down. At least do that. Okay, we're done with this. Air conditioning. No, we'll leave that on there. Done with that. Close these doors up. Close that door. I'll leave the gate. And the cargo door can be closed. I wonder, oh, I guess that includes the van. Let me see. Okay, so when you press that, you get the conveyor to go with it. That's pretty wild. All right, turn this off. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I didn't check. Ouch. Let me see something here. I never even thought to look. We are 110,000. We are just barely under maximum landing weight. I'll bet I just hit it as I was within maybe 5 miles. By a nose. 110. I see. I gotta. That's gonna be a challenge there. I've got to figure out how to estimate fuel on these flights. I'm going just a little bit too long, too conservative, and that was milking it all the way in. What was our time? Takeoff to landing. 2 hours and 37 minutes. I'd have been 7 minutes faster. I would have been overweight. I like to be at 2 hours and 30 on it, but if I stay under 240, 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think that's a pretty good flight. Going back, probably a little quicker. And we're down to 20,823 on fuel. Plenty to do a go around and proceed to an alternate. So it's really tough to figure where you want to be and how much fuel you want. I would have preferred to have been down to about 20,000, 30 miles out. Because alternate choices, where would I go? Ontario? Could go to San Francisco. It might be a little bit too much of a stretch. San Diego would be a lousy choice with this airplane, but it could be done. Probably have to hands fly a localizer approach on that one. Phoenix a little too far. Vegas maybe. Vegas might be a good alternate. Maybe make that decision. Yeah, I might try that next time. Come down, go around, and see if I can stretch to Vegas and see what I got left when I get there. So there it is, folks. Colimata, however you pronounce it. Concorde, volume 3.12. As you can see, I had to work a lot with the vertical speed. I'm not real pleased with a lot of these functions up here. They don't really hold all that good. Autoland, I don't think that's in there. I even tried tuning them both in. It needs a little bit of work trim-wise. I don't believe volume 2 was that excessive. I think this trim is off a bit. Other than that, max climb, it's okay to get you into it, but you don't want to hold it there. Max climb, max cruise worked really well. Vertical speed does great. Indicated airspeed good. Altitude hold, maybe. I prefer to just do it with this guy right here. I seem to be able to do a smoother job with it. Just trying to stay a little ahead of it. So it's a little sloppy in that area. Back course, I think radio nav-wise it does really well. INS works pretty good. It wanders around a little bit, but it's not that bad. Mach hold, I never use it. Maybe at lower altitudes I might. Predominantly indicated airspeed is most reliable. You trust that. And then look at your Mach speed, and then you might want to try, okay, I want to hold 0.85. But I'm not at subsonic long enough to really want to get into that. At supersonic, I tried it and had an awful time with it. I found it much easier to do it. I think that's the way they really do it. They just keep it in max cruise. And got to work this a little bit. Try to stay ahead of it, but don't get too far behind it. And 9 minutes, 25 seconds. That's okay. I stayed under 10. The heavier you go, the longer it's going to get. You got up to 15 total. That's cumulative. Don't forget that, because it counts. Whatever you use on takeoff, use it very sparingly. It is loud. It will perform pretty well dry if I take off without the burners on. Maybe the next flight coming back will do that. And I think I'll do another video. Might even attach this one. Just going through the checklist so to help people find stuff, because it's a real hunt. It's a scavenger hunt. You spend a lot of time looking for stuff, you know, and I guess I'll do that. Anyway, I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Oh, what the heck. I've gone this far, I might as well go the rest of the way. Let's go to the checklist. And I'm going to point out every item I can find. It's hard to read it, so I'll read it. Brakes. We'll start with the basics. This is the brake. Yoke and rudder pedals. Pedestal adjustment. We'll skip that. Boarding and racking area. What I mean by roof lights, there's lights on the ceiling. If you look back, let me go over here. Make sure all these covers are on. A few up here too. Alright, landing gear standby lever guard. I think what they mean is this. If you look down at the landing gear lever, there's this little red guard that goes with it. Okay. Transponder. That's right there. Radar. It's always on for some reason. All right. And also your display. That's supposed to power it up, but I don't think it simulates that. Okay, emergency nose visor unlock, release, down, pin, engage. That's a hard one to find. So you don't go crazy looking for it. Find it, this seat here. If you look down and you shift over, come down low. I'll try to zero in on that. I mean, that's it right there. And I guess that's the pin. Okay, the standby control for the visor. It's down here. Move over this way. And there's the windshield wipers. You've got this does work. Well, it used to work. Yeah. What happens if you flipped it? Nothing. Nose visor standby, and this has to be up in the slot. What happens if you do this? Yeah. Clickable. Anyway, probably got that power on. So if you're looking for that, that's what that's at. And in your landing gear normal lever, it's right here. Gear override, it's down here. It's got a cover on it. All right. Visor nose lever up here. All right. Then you got auto ignition switches up here. ADS, engine probe heaters. Let me move this over. Oh, come on. It's up here. Let me shift over a little bit. So you leave those off. All right. Wing intake anti-icing. You have the wing and the engine. Anti-ice. Anti-ice. Fuel transfer switch. Forward transfer switch. That's this guy right up here. And then back here, if you're looking for this guy, trim transfer auto master forward. It's also safety. Tank 11 inlet valves auto or off. Take 11 inlet valves, auto or off. That would be these up here. They're off. And I usually put these in auto. Okay, there's that. Standby inlet valve switches. That's these up here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 standby inlet valves. A bunch of stuff in here. Trim pipe drain took me forever. There it is right there. That's a trim pipe drain. That's a switch right here. Jettison fill panel. I guess there's supposed to be a cover over this thing. That's your jettison fill panel. Ram air turbine. It's kind of hidden behind this. All right, that's your interphone. That's your ram air turbine. Cycle and continuous de-icing. That's interesting. I don't think you can test it. I don't even know if it works or not. I don't even think you can. I don't know what happens if I do this. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Probably dropped it. Well, we're not flying anyway. Okay, so there's that. Windshield emergency de-icing. That one's kind of hidden. That'll drive you nuts too. It's supposed to be behind this cover right here. Off and guarded. Circuit breakers. Well, there's a lot of those. None of those that work, but there are some over here, I believe. These guys right here. And on the front, the main circuit breakers. I think that'll come up again. Right there. Okay, next page. Ground power, we won't look at that. Master batteries, we know where those are. That's right here. Master batteries. Oxygen panels down here. Oops. Oh, get over there. Drain master heaters. You find yourself bouncing all over trying to find this stuff. On. There's like so. INS. There's 3 of them. There's one here. One here. It's actually number. This is number 2. Actually, number 1, number 2, number 3. Also, there's a battery light that goes on sometimes if you screw it up. Air data computers, switches for that are right here. Emergency equipment, no smoking signs, that's up here, obviously. All right, fast seatbelt signs, we've seen that. Let's see. Master circuit breakers, that's these guys down here. Doink, doink, doink. That took me a while to find. Oxygen, we went as. Did I skip a space? No, up here. Okay, oxygen 100% tested. That would be probably something like this. Just you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. The windows, didn't get a chance to show this, but they do open. It'd be nice to do a start with those open, see what that sounds like. All right, flight control inverters. That's over here. One, there's two of them. One over here. Okay. Anti-stall system. There's the augmentation system. That's all these switches up here. All the way across. I can barely read this thing. Anti-stall. I believe. On. And back here to this seat. This is a RAD, radio nav. RAD INS. That's an INS mode. That's in radio nav mode. One on each side. Instrument transfer switches. That's these over here. I prefer to set it up this way. Like so. Alright, altimeter. A lot of stuff is easy to find. Some of the stuff is not. Obviously the altimeter. One on each side. And then you've got radio comm. One both sides. And also have one back here. Alright. Nav radios up front. One on each side. One here. And one over here. Throttle master. Back up we go. Either alternate, off, or main. Grind hydraulic. That's over here. Bouncing all over the place. It's up on the top, supposed to be in the yellow. Excuse me. It's supposed to be off. Fuel heaters. Getting lost. All right, fuel heaters. Auto. Or on, off. Engine recirculation valves, says these down here. Supposed to leave those shut. A secondary air door. Now, if you're going to go reheat, what this is kind of like when you have a high angle of attack. It's like a second opening, allow air into the engine. It's on the bottom, in the front. Open, auto for normal use. Sometimes I'll leave them shut if I'm going to go without the burners on, and it will say so. Takeoff without reheat, you leave them shut. Brakes, we already checked those. No, batteries. Yeah, we already did that. You can look at batteries over here. I think they got to be on for you to check them. Okay. Next item. INS 1, 2, and 3. You pretty much put a good idea where that's at. We'll skip all that. Throttle, lever. Oh, this is another one that kind of screws people up. If I pronounce it right. Throttle, lever, indices. You can mark your spot with this. Might get it to work. Not that one. So when you throttle up, you can match that. If you're having like a smoke in the cabin or something like that, and you can't really see that good, you can get some idea where it's at. So it sort of marks a spot. I do not use it. I just leave it up. Load sheet, that's all this stuff here. All this information, center of gravity, fuel. That's basically my load sheet. 0 fuel weight. You see that when you're doing, I don't know if it shows it on this page. I think it's on flight preparation. Let me go back. I don't see it on that page. Here it is, 0 fuel weight, cargo and all that stuff. So all your load stuff is on the menu, GMU. Let's see, load limits. You can't really do anything there. It used to be like down here. I think you can set load limits with this switch here, but this isn't illuminated. These don't illuminate either. Takeoff data, start clearance, doors and lights, master warnings. We already showed you that. That's this thing up front. Oh, I didn't think that worked. Let's see if it does. Interesting. All right, engine pumps. What they mean by that? That's the all the engine pumps are right here. There's 3 per engine. These are the inboards. This would be number 3, number 4, number 2, number 1. I wonder if you could probably run on just 1 pump each. Who knows? All right, and then the next item is bleed air source available. That's up here. When you turn on your bleed airs and you open these up, you should indicate pressure. 1 for each engine. All right, engine bleed air, engine debow. Okay, this was another one that took me forever to find. This is your debow switch. This is normal when the engine's cold. Hold that down for a minute. I don't think I demonstrated that yet. When you hit the start valve, first you select this down, you hit the start valve, and then you select when you get up to 12, and you keep this down for 1 full minute, and then you go back to normal. That'll keep the engine from speeding up past 30. Give it a chance to warm up evenly, so don't get a bowed shaft. So you debow. Okay, yeah, it says hold for 1 minute. Let's see, condition valves. Well, I already showed you that, but we'll look at them again. As you put these on, you shut these off. Actually, they're already off. After you do this, then you shut that off. That's a condition valve. It has a boost on it. Don't know why. Condition valves. Hydraulic pumps. They're all over here per engine. That one, that one, that one. And they got a little safety. It goes underneath them, so you don't inadvertently shut them off. Those are hydraulic pumps. You've got 2 for engine 2, 1 for engine 1, 1 for engine 3, and 2 for engine 4. Shut those off. And then you have your electric generators. On. Then you just select off, 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 off. These are the rectifiers. Oh, those are protected. Oh, yeah, rectifiers. So you don't mess with those. These are all set in a norm position. Norm. Battery. Water heater. And shed galleys. You need all 4 engines running to operate all that stuff. It has a pretty good sizable electrical load. All right. What else? Okay, the emergency hydraulic generator. That was hard for me to find. Come back and look at it. Right here it is. Right next. I think it's supposed to be, okay, here's what it's supposed to be. Ground bypass. You know, I missed that. Let me check that again. Ground bypass. I hadn't noticed that before. That's auto. That's ground bypass. I think you're supposed to do that, so I haven't done that, so bad for me. SSBs. Those are right here. Close, open. On the deflection for the flight controls, when you're moving the controls around, that's right here. There's a funny name for this that I can't pronounce. Anyway, when the hydraulic's on, you'll see the ailerons and the rudder movement. Set nose visor, that's up here. Parking brake, we've already seen that. Engines 1, 2, 3, 4. These are your engine gauges. Engine 1, 2, 3, and 4. And also shows the hydraulic systems they are running. For example, this one is on the green hydraulic, yellow and green. And then you have the blue and yellow. So if you lost this one here, you'd still have yellow, green, you still have blue. If you lost this engine here, you still have green, you still have blue, and you still have yellow and blue. So it's kind of hard to go without if you just lose one engine. If you lose more than one engine, that might be a little bit of a problem. Like if you lost this one and that one, you'd be stuck with one green, yellow, and blue. Oh, that might work too. Oh. So that's sort of redundant. And then N1's on the bottom instead of the top. Here's your fuel flow. Here's your EGT. And here's your nozzle area. That's in the back of the engine. That changes size, it contracts, and closes and opens. The master warning panel, we already looked at that. That's up here. And then another one that engine anti-ice, we already saw that. The engine control panel schedule, like for example, I want it set up for takeoff, and I want the idle to be low, and I want to limit the number 4 to 88% till speed gets up to 100 knots to cut down vibration. That would pertain to that. You've also got high, you've got low, set to auto, then approach mode over here, then normal mode is usually throughout the flight. All right, so there's that. Brake fans, that's right over here. Engine idle switches low, that's down here. Just did that. Stall warning tested and off. I don't know how to test the stalls. Can't get it to work. Engine feed pumps, that's down here. It's all these pumps right here. Hydraulics, it's all over here, up on top. Electrics are down here. So you've got hydraulics on the top, electrics down near here in these two panels. Flight instruments in the front. You can see all the flags because we got no power. And nose 5 degrees, flight instruments, flight control. Blue light out. I keep forgetting to check that. So I don't know where to look for that light. It's up here somewhere. Blue light out. I'll have to go back to the manual now. That one got me. Brakes, check normal. Flight instruments, check. Flight controls, AFCs, blue light out. Trims, check for takeoff. We went over that. This is the trim. Don't mess with that. You've got roll trim. You've got yaw and roll. You've also got turn. Sort of an old school deal. Nose down, nose up. I haven't tried this yet. Increase, decrease speed. That's with use of the autopilot. Okay, braking, going through all that stuff. Let's see, flight instruments, trims. That's the next page. Center of gravity, fuel transfer. You got a CG gauge here, and you've also got one over here. I don't know if you got one on the other side. I didn't look. Now you've got Mach and attitude, angle of attack. Not Mach, but G-force. G and angle of attack. Mach speeds here. Got a backup, 2 backup airspeed indicators. RMI is on the left. ADF is on the right. Throttle master, that's up on top. We looked at that already. And then we've got auto throttle. That's another one you don't want to forget. It's up there. There's a lot of stuff, man. I don't know. This took a while to figure all this shit out. These are ADS engine probe heaters. We looked at that already once. Air data system. And there's a test. There's a lot of sensors. You don't want any of that stuff to ice up. Yeah, number 4 engine. That's what this means down here. That's for 3, and that's for 4. I leave it in 4. The air conditioning panel, we looked at that briefly. That's up here. Temperature controls. Fuel panel. That's all this right here. Okay. And all these switches over here and on the right. And I have not even begun to figure out how to operate this because I can't find any information whether or not it's actually simulated or not. All right, engine number 4, telemeter. That's that little switch over here, a limiter switch. You can barely read it. It says 88%. That's just for the number 4 engine. I know not why. And then you have your pitot heaters. You got your probes, pressure static. Definitely want those off when you're getting hot. Anti-skid system, no lights. I'm not sure how that works. I thought I located it down here. Got the warning. And I've got the brake pressure. What I don't see is anything related to the anti-skid system. Thought it was in this area here. You can test this. That's in a landing gear. What's this? I should have nothing to do with it. Here it is, anti-skid, found it. Okay. Don't know how well it simulates it. Found it finally. Reverse, see how this says, you just go on and on. Reverse shut off, we know what that is. That's these little handles over here. You can flip one of these up. Oh, they're not working now. Anyway, that's that. These little levers up here. Down here, they have another one here. This is for first officer, captain, holder, whoever's flying has their hand up here, and then down here. And then under here, the flight engineer has his fingers underneath these if you're taking off. And you lose an engine, you might want to flip those on if you're not using them. All right, engine flight rating, did that. That's up top. There's 2 of those, one for flight. You got one up here and one down here. You've got one for takeoff and flight, and you've got one here for climb and cruise. All right, engine flight rating. Mid-travel forward, we looked at that. Seats and harnesses, tank 11 amount. It's important to check that. This is tank 11. Tank 11 is on the bottom. It's hard to find it at first. That's the rear tank. And you got 2 tanks up front. These are trim tanks. All right. D-air, that's the one switch down here that I always turn on, and there's one up here. Took me a while to find that too. It says D-air. All this clutter. So you want to spend time with it looking for all this stuff. CG gauges, we looked at that. That's this one right here. Main transfer pump, tanks 5 and 7. All right, 5 and 7. I don't know if I've been doing that or not. 5 and 7. Those are the feed tanks. 13 tanks. There's pump 7. I think those are already set. Here's number 7. Here's number 5. That's on, that's on. I don't know if it has anything to do with this. Gotta hope not, because they haven't been doing that. That's all messed up. I screwed it up. I wonder how I'm supposed to turn those on. No, you can't with that safety on there. That doesn't make sense. All right, well, I know I'm getting a light on it, so I assume it's good. One way to find if it's a switch that needs to be turned on, you go to the flight engineer and you ask them to system startup, and then do it about 100 times so you can figure out which switches need to be flipped. All right, that's questionable briefing. Take off the landing lights. Those are up here. We know where those are. Usually you have landing and taxi. This is kind of like, mainly it really gets bright with these, but during daylight operation, I don't know that you really need that. I mean, you could light them all both up, landing and taxi, and these are landing lights, main landing. Those are the big bright ones. Transponder, we looked at that. Brake temp warning light, we've seen that. That's down here. Overheat light. And of course, the automatic flight control system, that's what they call this, AFC. This is why I select all this stuff and get everything in the bullpen. I don't know where the electricity is. I got no power, but that's why I preset all that, set the altitude, required altitude. So they call it AFC, autopilot values, takeoff monitor. That's this little button right here. You push that, you get the countdown, the light stays on, you get a blue light right here. Reheat switches, those are down here. You can program a button for them. Okay. Pitch index, I've shown you that. Radar, you've got the radar power down here. And this works with without it. All right, what else? I think that covered just about everything you could put your hands on. Oh, I don't know if I showed you that. You can make up your own checklist, which you can see I've obviously done, because this following this thing is ridiculous. Let's turn it off. Last but not least, when it says HP valves, that's what these are right here. So, did I miss anything? The servos, you can, I think those function. I don't know those function. Yeah, they do. Well, I haven't even begun to look at abnormal procedures. But there's a lot. These are just the real stats for the lights. I don't use these too much. Drag that around. That's not working. Well, this one's important. For some reason, I don't get nothing there. Probably have to have power on for some of these things to work. Here's your flight deck door. Open, normal, ground call. Interphone, let's see. Interphone, cabin, normal. Steward's call. That's a roof light. Emergency arm. This is the one you arm. All right. Test switch. Master drains. You can test blue. Norm. You can have green only, blue only. That's called the relay jack. Do not know why or what that is. A lot I don't know. I just try to fly it. All right, quick review. Hydraulics, electrics, oxygen. Just rough. Air conditioning. Jettison fuel panel. Main fuel panel, upper and lower. Bleed air. Pressurization. Engine schedule. Engine gauges. Ram air down here. INS system. Start valves. The ramps, I'm not sure what all these switches are for. What you ramp, you can operate them manually. These are rheostats for lights. That's a floodlight. Warnings. Another set of warnings. If a door opens, the light goes on. This will tell you sometimes if you've got, it says ready. If that goes on, that means battery. You get a red light. Test. I don't know if that works or not either. And then you've got your brake temp, brake fan, and your ground hydraulics. Center console. Your INS system, your keypads for entry, called SIVA. This is information that goes to the cabin. Shows speed and stuff. This stuff that goes up on the wall back there shows how fast you are, how high you are, what the outside air temperature is. This is the nose temperature of the aircraft. This is static temperature. It's 17 outside. Got warm today. This is where you can check your performance. You can get track, heading, information, position, track ground speed, IGO distance time, waypoint. Up to 9 pages can be programmed into it. And then when you get to the end, after you get to 9, when you get to between 8 and 9, you can go back to 1, press waypoint change, and enter a new one, north latitude and longitude, and then insert that, then go to the next one, same, next one, up to 7. Don't go any further. Don't go past 7. Because you're still on 8 going to 9. And then when it gets to 9, it'll start all over again. Back to where you started. And go another 7. And then when you get to, after it starts all over again, you can then go past 7 and do 8 and 9. And then when it gets back to 8 and 9, you can start all over again and go back to 1. Same process. Change waypoint. And then just, maybe if I get time to do that, I'll try it next flight. Can I think of anything else? Oh, there is one other little thing. It's kind of stupid, but I got to show it. I mean, I've gone this far. I get back here. Where was it? I'm lost. Okay, that's the other door. These doors all work. It's not really, kind of chintzy when you look at the graphics here. I might have been in the back. Should be one up front here. I can get this to open up. There we go. Got it. No, it's not working. I don't know if you go through here or not. That's not it. Maybe the 2K doesn't have it. Go back here to the back here. Oh, I found it. This used to work. There we go. Couldn't resist. All right. That is as much as I can possibly cover in this video because it's really a lot. Probably the longest one I've ever done. The next ones will be just pretty much basically flying. And hopefully I'll learn a few more things about this thing so I can explain it a little better. But now you know pretty much where everything's at. And hopefully this video will save you time hunting for it. Or it might even confuse you more. Anyway, I will catch you on the next one. See ya. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.